Hi there. So today I want to talk about one of the most pressing issues of all time, which is water. Obviously, water is key to sustainability. The precise meaning of water sustainability means having a continual supply of clean water for human uses and other living things. So water, just like any other things in nature, it is changing all the time. But for the most part, water is changing because of human activities. And it is changing because of land use, because of our energy choices, and it is also changing because of climate change. Particularly, what's alarming about the change in water is the rate of how much we're using water. And even though water is a renewable resource, the rate that we're depleting it is actually turning it into a non-renewable resource. And there's a real threat that water is going to be a scarce resource, and that's a real concern because the poor people would be affected the most by this. In fact, 1 billion people are being affected right now because there are 1 billion people who are earning less than $1 a day. So the struggle for food and clean water is real. And the thing is, back in 2015, the world population is already at 7.4 billion people. And by 2050, we're expecting that number to increase to 9 to 10 billion people. And right now, we're using about half or more than half of the world's water supply. So do we have enough water for everybody? Because that would mean the average supply of water per person will be decreasing as time goes on. Moving on to land use. So with a growing population, obviously people are going to take up and occupy more space. And as all these pieces of land are being occupied and they're being converted into agricultural, industrial, or municipal use, they're all going to result in an increased consumption of water and the degradation of water as well. One of the biggest impacts on water quality is the high input agriculture. So the runoff of soil, pesticides, and nutrients not only cause a huge stress on the aquatic ecosystem, but it also creates a quantity problem. Many cities and towns in Iowa, they're drawing more water from groundwater aquifers because they're trying to avoid the soil and pesticide runoff from agriculture and surface waters. A country's energy use would have significant impact on water quantity as well. An example of that is the United States mandate to produce 36 billion gallons of biofuels by 2022. In fact, 10 gallons of corn ethanol requires 7,000 gallons of water for it to be produced. This mandate has led to unsustainable water mining. In fact, some of the water aquifers have been drawn down to 300 feet to 800 feet deep. Thus, this energy choice is leading to water unsustainability. One of the ways that a country can improve water sustainability, especially within its agriculture sector, is to implement best management practices. And what the government can do is to give incentives to these farmers to change their behavior so that they would use less water and they would use less pesticides and fertilizers and adopt other environmentally friendly practices. So what can governments do if there's a lack of water supply? One of the things that they can do is to look into water cycle engineering, and that was what Singapore did. Singapore is home to 4.6 million people, and they had a water supply issue, which means that they had to import 50% of their water from Malaysia. And at first they thought that it was a good idea to build some desalination plants, and halfway through that process they realized that it's much cheaper and that it is more effective and efficient to just treat wastewater up to drinking water standards. It is also important for a government to invest heavily in its water infrastructure as well. And again, that's what Singapore did. They invested heavily into their water infrastructure, and now their issue is resolved, and they've also become a hydro hub, and they're even exporting their technology to other people. However, the same cannot be said for the United States. In fact, most of its infrastructure is over 100 years old, and the cost to repair and replace the water infrastructure has now grown to $2.2 trillion. In conclusion, obviously water is an incredibly important resource because it's crucial for our survival. And not only that, it affects so many people. As of right now, it's affecting 1 billion people, and we need to be careful stewards here, and we need to take the sustainability of water seriously. And the government needs to be aware of the impact of its actions, especially when it comes to policy making, and they should try to do as much as they can to influence businesses and individuals to change their behavior regarding water usage. And that's it for this blog. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you the next round. Bye.